Thank you for joining us. Welcome back to Technical Talks, our monthly webinar series. I am beyond excited to be joined by my friend Travis Riehl. This is our Technical Talks webinar series for MSE Walls. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Riehl Holdings, my employer. And I work for all four of the companies listed on the right side. I'm blessed to work with Cascade Geosynthetics, with Travis and Melissa and them, and as well as Bowman Construction Supply in Colorado, and ASP Enterprises, a quick supply company across the Midwest. And we are the largest family-owned civil site supply distributor in the United States, and we operate like a small family. So it's kind of interesting that we say that. I know Don likes when I say that we're the largest, but locally we're small families in each location. So let's get going. Who is Travis Riehl? One thing, Travis, I realized is I didn't have you send me your bio, so I made up my own. And I can't say this is true. I was worried about getting sued for using songs that we didn't have the rights to. And I can't prove this, but there's two people I've never seen in the room at the same time. I've never seen Captain America in the room at the same time as Travis Riehl. So Travis, that's up to you to debunk if you want. I have one more picture that when somebody in our company says Travis Riehl, this comes to mind. I feel like he's my brother from another mother, and I have not gotten to spend near enough time with Travis yet, but we have some plans for 2023 to get together. Some of these projects that he's going to present, he's going to show me in person, because he said even though he's very good at taking pictures, it doesn't do it justice for a lot of his projects. Is that true, Travis?
That is correct.
So I'm sorry to offend you and say that we might be related. And do you want to address the Captain America thing, or just leave it as a mystery?
I'll leave it as no comment.
Leave it as no comment. What do you want to add about your bio? Like how long you've been in the industry and what background do you want to share?
I've been in the industry for 11 years. Started out very fortunate to have left the Marine Corps in good terms, and then started working construction. And that's where I got my hands dirty, stacking blocks, building roads, installing erosion control. And that's led me to here, 11 years later, talking to the camera.
The camera. The camera. Well, and I know you mentioned your service, and you know how I feel about it. I feel very strongly about it. Thank you for your service. And I almost handed this over to you a bit too soon, because I wanted to get to this slide. I'm teeing this up for MSE Walls. These are not your grandfather's walls. And this is not to offend anybody with my heritage in Ireland, but I someday want to get over there to Ireland, Scotland, and I want to see where my people are from. And, I don't know anything about my lineage, but I'm guessing they had a lot of walls like this, and that's not what we're going to talk about today. Now, we do actually have those available through our hardscapes in some companies, but today it says MSE Walls. And one of the things I learned early on is it's rude to use acronyms if you don't give the definition of what that acronym means. And what we do in our industry is use tons of acronyms, and some of our manufacturers use parts of acronyms and creative wording to come up with the titles of their products. But I have to define MSE Walls, and I just went to one of our manufacturers. In fact, Propex, who's now part of Solmax, says MSE walls are simply mechanically stabilized earth walls, use multiple layers of soil reinforcement to stabilize slopes and retain soil. Now, we do a lot of slope stabilization. The title for this presentation is MSE Walls. I have some projects that I had sent myself YouTube video links that some of our manufacturers created for some stabilized slopes and reinforced slopes. But we had so much to do with walls, I just wanted to focus on that for today. But these are not the kinds of walls that our ancestors built. In fact, if you would have told them about these, a lot of them might have laughed at you and thought it wouldn't stand a chance. But now we find that the way technology has evolved, and some of these manufacturers have invested a lot of time and money and research, that we can do a lot greater things than we ever used to do just by hand. So with that, Travis, I think I'll give controls to you.
We'll start off with the picture on the left. We're talking about the Flex MSE vegetated wall system. You can see that the small bags on the left side that we're using are built in around in-place landscape features. So utilizing the natural resources that we have to get a look that we want. The components for the system. We've got our the geosynthetic bag itself, the plates, and the geogrid, and that's from, we can see on the diagram or the detail. And here we've got another Flex MSE feature on the Kalama House project. And there was a lot of grade separations issues on this where we had to utilize these products to basically get our slopes up and make make the land more usable. That's the benefit of all the systems we're going to discuss today is the grade separation and getting our land and space actually usable, because you can only, play with the kids on a slope so long before everyone falls to the bottom.
So what one of the manufacturers talks about is they have walls that are categorized as MSE walls, but they're not just standard MSE walls. These wrap face solutions are very popular. They typically are vegetated, but not always. And what I got a kick out of on this one was you and I both, with whether it be the wrapped walls from some of these manufacturers here under Solmax umbrella, Tenkata Mirify or Propex, they talk about being graffiti resistant, and Trexiana has that in their Flex MSE presentation as well. But you found the one project that actually has some graffiti showing on it, but it's graffiti resistant because this is going to be a vegetative wall and that stuff's going to disappear, right?
This one will have concrete panels in front of it.
Oh, well, now those are not necessarily graffiti resistant, but that's not our issue.
Not our issue, but this was just a good example of the burrito wrap stack wall.
And when you say concrete panels, one of the things that people in our industry know, you and I know, those concrete panels are not load supporting. Those are just to facing material for aesthetics and to protect the fabric.
This is another uniaxial geogrid wrap face structure on a highway project in Oregon. And that's really it. It's another option. No secondary facing on this. It's just rock and grid.
And even though it's not vegetated, there's been a lot of research that says they're confident that the UV resistance is up to 75 years and beyond.
Check the notes on that, but yeah, I know they have that for some of their mirror mesh and facing and their products, but let's go.
Getting those beautiful pictures here.
So what we've got here is going to be a mirror mesh face. So that is the long-term UV resistant facing fabric that you were kind of just talking about, used with wire baskets. The specific constraints on this project was obviously the beautiful location that it's in. They did not want to add any unnecessary grays to the landscape. So they utilized the mirror mesh with the plan of vegetating it, but they were able to save time and labor by using the baskets and the geogrid on the access to the project. To try to get in with boulders or blocks would have been a very difficult journey. So the contractor used these baskets and got the screen wall put up in a timely manner, and now this owner's got a nice stable platform above their house.
Now, knowing that our viewers are all the way across the Midwest and the Rockies out to the Pacific Northwest, this doesn't look like Iowa to me. Where is this located?
This is in northern Idaho.
Nice.
Hayden Lake. Here we've got the Presto Geo's GeoWeb retaining wall system, and this is the Rainier Riverwalk project on the Columbia River in Oregon. The contractor that installed this had already done a previous few projects with the Presto system, and they knew they liked it. They showed the owner on another phase of this project, and the owner loved it. They loved the ease, the accessibility to get these in and build these small scour protection bridge abutment features. There's going to be a pedestrian bridge across that.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. It kind of looked like it, but I forgot to ask you about this when we met. It does look like a bridge abutment.
Yeah, it's been on my to-do list to get back and take a follow picture on it after they set the structure, but it's just a good example of being able to utilize a green system in a green environment where mobility and access is going to be difficult.
Now, on your screen, Travis, can you see the graphic on the right? This is something that we talked about a little bit, is some of these are the full width Presto GeoWeb panels that are gravity stacked, and others are the narrower runs of geo cells because they're reinforced back with fabric or grid, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, the third detail will show the gravity stack, which is if access is going to be hard and you're not going to be able to cut your slope back too far, or you're worried about that, to be able to fill these units in place is a phenomenal time saver. And I mean, you can get a pallet or two out to a job site in the back of a buggy, places where you're not going to be able to get. It's going to take you a long time to get your block or concrete trucks or however you plan to reinforce the slope. Here we got another couple action photos from the Kalama House project. And this is showing the stretcher boards and frames that we use to keep the cells open for installing the aggregate that we're going to use to fill the cells. This one we got pretty creative because of the access. We had to use a crane and a rock chute to pour the rock down and fill it from overhead. And as you can see in that center photo, they were just fill in cells, moving. There were 3 stretcher frames at a time. So we're able to do multiple cells in a run and keep, frog leaping them down to speed up the installation. And this went incredibly fast. And that was one of the big deciding factors on this owner who did this work themselves. This was an especially contractor. This is all done by a landowner.
That's impressive. And having that spreader frame keeps it open, so you're not having to drive a whole bunch of different anchors to keep the cell open, which I've done both. I've done it where I've driven rebar in or different pins or staples to try to keep the accordion shape of the GeoWeb panel opened up. But here it's a lot quicker and more efficient with that spreader frame, and it's consistent.
Definitely.
Let's keep on trucking. These are great. Same project?
Same project, further up, obviously from the previous photo. Each one of those cells is 6 inches tall, so you can quickly add those up and see the elevation that this homeowner was able to accomplish, making, again, this unusable slope a usable area. Now, rumor has it there's going to be an infinity edge pool put on top of this.
Wow.
We'll see the future photos of that one someday.
I look forward to visiting this site with you someday.
Definitely, summertime.
There you go.
All right, moving on.
This is one you said that they did not purposely spread seed or anything on it. It was, did you ever think of the term you're trying to think of?
I could not think of the term I was looking for on just the blown in vegetation that just naturally occurred there. And yep, they were able to achieve what they wanted, and that was making the wall disappear into, a native-scape.
Which I showed some on the right that Presto Geo has on their website, where they intentionally vegetated it. So that shows the potential of what you can do with this system. But what you're seeing on the left, the homeowner, it just happened from being in place there for so long that they may go back and intentionally vegetate it with something native, but they could just leave it as is.
No, and there is a plan to go back and plug plant in the face of those cells, and that's leaving the 1 inch offset over each panel on their way up. Is going to leave room to get whatever landscape they want to get in there.
There you go.
To the homeowners and landscape architects. So same project, the Kalama House, the owner was also introduced to Flex MSE, and they were able to use it to build some dynamic features and really get these radiuses knocked in on the car park areas.
That's so cool.
See on the left photo, if you look up on the right corner, you can actually see the close-up of the right photo. So you're able to see the unique features they're able to do and the radiuses they're able to turn. And again, all done by a homeowner.
What awesome vision. Did the homeowner hire someone to design the wall layout?
No.
Just made it up as they went? Oh my gosh, that's incredible. There are people who pay a lot of money to have a wall look like this, especially how they worked in harmony with the boulder and the natural landscape.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Wow. Mine's ahead of you. I don't have the delay, so I get to say wow before you see your picture.
I know. I was like, which one's next? So here we've got another example of the Flex MSE system being used with the natural resources that they have around Coeur d'Alene. The builder used this because of the access, which you can't see in any of the photos. This is lakefront property with a 1-to-1 slope about 400 feet above them. So they built a chute, and they were sliding the bags down a chute to get them in place to stack them.
So they filled them up above and then lowered them down already filled?
Yes.
Wow.
And then they were able to place it and use the stone steps and build this access right into the wall. And it's going to be a great one when they go back and hydro seed it from a boat next year.
From a boat?
From this year.
Yeah, you keep saying next year, this year. So in 2023, I've never seen hydro seeding from a boat. That's fantastic.
So we'll save it for the next webinar.
There you go. Hey, I'll take over on this slide because I want to check the Q&A real quick just to see where we're at. Oh yeah, Joel was talking about, Joel Kennedy from Trexiana was talking about it being designed to create a seamless transition. And Joel is one that's ready to go. He's ready to meet with us, with you, with anybody to discuss projects, whether it be virtually or in person. And our friend Norman said sedum cuttings would be awesome for that home where they're going to vegetate that wall. And that's another popular thing, that a lot of these solutions will work in harmony with those native plants. So thanks, Norm. On this slide here, yours truly with his soft skin, office engineer type hands, bad back, big belly. I built that little demo wall on the left side. That's a Flex MSE wall on a frame that was used for outdoor exhibits at our ASP Enterprises St. Louis office. And we use GeoGrid to wrap it back and tie it to these 3 aluminum studs that are on there. And the first few layers, I didn't do it. Somebody made a hand paste of, I don't know if it was Proganics or Biosol and seed, and they just applied a hand paste to the bags to vegetate it, and it actually worked. And then our very own Tammy is plugged in some flowers all the way up the wall face. And this is not there's a later picture that showed the flowers more in bloom, but this sits out in front of ASP St. Louis. Now, what are we going to do in future years? Are we going to blast the whole thing with like a flex terra? I don't know yet, but part of it was to show how easy it is to build. And there's some video and pictures of me building that with some of the coworkers there at ASP St. Louis in what's called Fenton, Missouri. And the challenge was, after the thing was built, which didn't take very long, it was really easy to build. And I was blessed with pre-filled bags. I show a picture up in the top center where some people have their own jig that they build on site, and Trexiana will share with you some plans to build your own. And all of our different companies have someone in their area that's done it before, that knows how to do it. In fact, Travis and Melissa know someone that is very, very good at it. They know a couple of people now that are very, very good at it. In fact, that homeowner got very good at it, filling their own bags. I was blessed to have pre-filled bags, but our challenge was there's no soil behind our demo wall. So there's no moisture that's just retained there. They have to sprinkle that or irrigate it on a regular basis. In real life, on that bottom center picture, nature is going to keep these things damp and moist as water is present in the wall. If you're in one of our arid climates, they do have plans and details on how to incorporate irrigation, drip line throughout that wall, so you can irrigate it to grow vegetation. Vegetation's the goal as often as possible. If you do have some bags that are exposed and not fully covered with vegetation, they still have significant design life, just not as long as if they were completely covered with vegetation. And there is a great, on the Flex MSE website, which you can access through our website, there's a great design tool on there. If you have the height and length of the wall and the batter, they're always available to help. Travis has experience, so does Melissa. We all have experience with having Joel Kennedy and the rest of the folks at Trexiana help us with Flex MSE design. So there's a whole lot of opportunities there.
So now we're looking at another mirror mesh facing vegetative wall system. This is another land use project where there was a lot of difficulties to get this this area up to grade to put an industrial center there. There was over 700,000 cubic yards of imports. Wow. And it's a multi-phase year project. And the interesting things here that we could see from the top center during construction and the ability to work in close proximity to the face of that wall with a heavy haul dump truck like that and bulldozers and get in there nice.
Massive.
It's a robust system.
And not just burrito faced, as you talked about, this is wire faced.
Yep, wire facing, because due to the height of the wall, they wanted to use the wire facing as a permanent support feature for their construction. Instead of pulling a temporary form or having to do anything risky like that, they just kept the wire form in there, and they got the vegetation established. And you can see halfway up the wall down here that you can see the previous year's vegetation has died off in the summer, and they've gone up considerably from that last point. And then if we go to the next slide.
Oh yeah, awesome, man.
We can get some close-up action of the actual vegetation. The wall was hydroseeded with Profiles, Flexterra, Hydromulch, Biosol, and the Vegetator seed mix.
Wow.
Just the biodiversity on the face of this wall, it turned green quick, and it's shown that it's coming back year after year so far. These are year 1 and year 2 pictures.
That's incredible. And I meant to put Profile's logo on there in between those planted pictures, and I didn't get it in there. So sorry to our friends at Profile Products, but I was going to have a whole slide dedicated to that combo with Flexterra and Biosol. And that Vegetator solution is just remarkable how fast you get crazy amount of vegetation, that's sustainability, man. That's that long-term solution we talk about, having a permanent solution.
Yeah, this wall is not irrigated.
Wow.
I mean, the Pacific Northwest, we have a little different climate over here in the west side, but we keep the wall green, and I will have further pictures of this one for the next time. All right, here we have the Mosquito Creek debris project up in the historic Columbia Gorge here in Oregon. This is a emergency repair to divert some landslide issues that we've had from some forest fires in the past couple of years. The Flex MSE was chosen for the visual from the highway that you can't see from here, but this little chunk of wall is viewable from the highway, and they wanted to make sure that they can turn it green at the end of the project. And I'll have a couple more pictures of the other side to understand a little bit further the construction constraints on this one. It was incredibly steep access, built on a 1-to-1 slope with a very hardworking crew that got this thing done. You can see the ultra block walls down on the bottom is the large concrete block was used on the uphill side of this as a impact zone for any future landslides to divert the flow into some basins. And then everything visual is going to be the Flex MSE system.
I love it. It's so cool. I want to talk to you more about it. For the sake of time, I don't want to ruin your momentum. You're doing great.
Mm-hmm. So here's a couple different angles of this thing from the block side looking out. And I mean, it's 22 feet tall by, I think, 300 or 400 feet long.
That's what you said. Yeah.
And with multiple angles. I mean, it was a challenging project, and these pictures will never do it justice. This is worth the hike to go look at.
Well, we didn't want to go too fast here, so because we want to end with this project. So as I say, I wanted you to keep going. I think we'll probably back up and go to a couple others to get a little more in detail. But there's a video after this slide. I just want to warn you, so you could talk through this slide before the video.
This is just a recent picture from. Let's see. I gotta move my toolbar here. It's blocking my photos. Yes, the top left photo is looking uphill, looking at the angle they were able to divert this wall to build a ramp to get up there. And what you see on the left photo and the right photo is above this left photo, that's where the right photo begins. So this long wall is a ramp access point for these guys to get up there, to run heavy equipment on, to get their 40,000 pound excavators up this ramp safely during post-emergency to clear any debris and do the work that the DOT needs to do. You're walking out here and taking all these from a pedestrian's height on foot. There's just no way to get a picture that shows all this, how massive it is. You'd have to be in a helicopter or flying a drone and panning around to really appreciate the scale of this, wouldn't you? Yeah, once I'm done breathing hard from the walk up there, you can really enjoy it.
Yeah. If I took that video, you'd be hearing me have an asthma attack while I was trying to record.
All right. Do you want to take back over for the video, or
No, I want you to do it. It's your video. You're the awesome photographer and project manager guy. And you might have to click on a little arrow to get that to play if you can find it. There you go. No hurries. It's worth waiting. And before you hit play, on LinkedIn, you posted this video. What caption did you have for it?
I made a little Game of Thrones reference that seemed to have got the attention of a few people.
Yeah. I think some of our fellow nerds appreciated that. It was something about the White Walkers or something.
Oh, yeah.
I'm one of the few that hasn't seen it yet, but I've had it highly recommended to me.
Well, I'll sound pretentious. I'm a book guy.
There you go. Okay, you play this video and it's real short.
Is it playing? Because I'm delayed.
That's amazing.
Again, this thing will be sprayed with Flextera and a native seed blend to vegetate it over the next over probably this spring. So I'll be looking forward to some follow-ups on this one.
Now, how are they going to get to this one to spray the Flextera? It looks like a boat couldn't reach it, and you can't reach it from just above ground. So how are you going to get to it?
This contractor will be loading their hydroseeder in the Maruca, I believe, and tracking it up the access way to get it into place and get it seeded.
That's incredible. Well, hats off to this contractor. I don't know if you plugged the engineer or the contractor. We usually don't do that, but you sure could. I mean, this is one of the most impressive MSE projects I've ever seen, or projects in general, period.
Now, the engineer, the owners, the reps, the contractors were all phenomenal on site all the time, getting it done. I mean, part of our requirements was to be on site for a good chunk of the job, and it was worthwhile. There was a lot of experience, a lot of good lessons learned, and on to the next one. But
in all seriousness, I was going to make a joke about this, but I can't because this is an area where there was a landslide, and this is an area where there's been wildfires, and our company in general has been involved with some reclamation projects for some post-wildfire projects, whether it be with biosol or profile products and some of the other solutions we have, muscle wall for some debris flow to try to protect some properties. Landslides are a very serious thing. Wildfires are a very serious thing. There are loss of life associated with those. If this was not in that serious of an area, did you or anybody else get hurt working on such a steep slope or walking around on such a steep slope here? Or was everybody pretty sure-footed? Were we blessed that nobody got hurt on this project that we know of?
On the project, no one got hurt that I'm aware of.
I bring that up because that's one of the things that I like to highlight with MSE Walls is the safety associated with it. You even use ultra block on this as well, which is very risky with such a large, heavy mass on such a steep slope. But the fact that such a massive wall was able to be built and no one got hurt really says a lot about the advancements we have with the contractors on their side and the manufacturers on their side and the type of information they share. This really highlights how important a pre-construction meeting is, and the understanding that a pre-construction meeting is not one and done. On something like this, you just keep making it up as you go. You keep getting better and learning as you go, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Can you back up and show us anything that might give an indication as to where you came up with the solution to use super sacks with pre-filled bags to get them down to this project? Because that was something that was pretty impressive. You'll have to keep going back, it looks like. You're doing your video again.
I know, it's the delay is throwing me off. So
here, I'll do it. I'll take over. I'll drive.
Thank you.
So here's what I wanted to see was if one of these, if we had a super sack, it'd be this one possibly. So are these super sacks on the top left picture that are filled with pre-filled Flex MSE bags?
Hold on, I gotta move my.
You're sliding your little thumbnail of us around so we're not blocking it.
Yeah. So after I was involved in this job from the the pre-construction phase to the pre-bid phase. And after the first hike and looking at it, my mind was instantly spinning on how we were going to get, 42 bags at 70 pounds up this hill safely and accurately. And it took a little bit of work, and luckily, working with the fill lot and the manufacturer on this, they were accommodating to help me fill super sacks up, and the contractor was able to swing them in place, set them, refill them as needed, and it sped the process up and kept it safe. It kept it safe for the crew, it kept it safe for our delivery drivers and their guys loading and offloading and moving them.
Well, it's absolutely incredible, because that's one of the things that they don't teach you in college. There's a whole lot of these things that you learn as you go. And we like to partner with the owners, the engineers, and the contractors. And somebody else who's going to be responsible down the road for maintenance, we like to partner with all of them. That's one of the ways we add value as a site solutions provider. Part of what I do is stay current on the most innovative solutions that the manufacturers are offering. And I try to see what's working around the rest of the world and across the US and bring it back to our markets. But nothing beats the experience you get that you and our other technical sales reps have. I can think of people from all four of our companies that have some really fascinating experience with some projects that are super impressive. I'm not getting ready yet, Travis. I'm really glad you're on here, and I'm glad you agreed to do this, but you have some of the most breathtaking pictures. You're blessed with some awesome projects. This one definitely has to rank up there.
So yeah, it was, it still is. I mean, this project's not done yet. We're wrapped up for the season, but there's going to be a little bit more work to go next year, and we're going to continue watching it for the next couple of years to really share the lessons and come up with a good case study.
Well, you're in a place that very much cares about aesthetics, and they very much care about natural solutions. And Melissa and I talked about this last month, Melissa Hurley and I, when we did our geosynthetics webinar, is there used to be a lot of bad blood towards plastics of any kind. But what the world has learned is there are good plastics, there are bad plastics, and there are good geosynthetic products that actually help nature, and they work in harmony with nature. And that's what we're offering here today. I don't want people to think we're just throwing a bunch of plastic bags on the ground. We're not. These manufacturers have used some of the synthetic material that actually works so much in harmony with nature that they've reduced the carbon footprint, as people like to talk about that, by using on-site materials as often as possible. You have a lot less export and import if you're able to use on-site native materials as often as possible. And Travis, a lot of the solutions and projects you've shown us here do that. Not that we're opposed to trucking in some of the other goods from other areas, or maybe switching out for some engineered select fill in some areas. You were going to talk about one of those previous pictures had that image of the two different geosynthetics. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that since we have time and I have the controls. Hang on, everybody. I don't want you to get motion sickness. There was a picture back here, Travis, that you said you saw something that really caught your eye, talking about connect it back to the geosynthetics webinar Melissa and I did in December, where geosynthetics are your friend, not the enemy. What do you see in this picture up on the left?
So when they were cutting out for this access road to put the retaining wall in, we went down to the original fabric from the haul roads they put in a couple of years ago, and you can see the separation layer actually still functioning between the native and then the rock fill between it in the top left corner. And then a second layer of fabric put over the new rock coming in there to build a stabilized base to get in there. You're definitely geosynthetics right there on the top.
Yeah, you're definitely the right person to be partnered with Melissa, because she bragged about the same thing in some of the pictures we had, where it was originally going to be, I think, maybe Stratavault. And we were talking about a Stratavault project that she used the non-woven geotextile and the geogrid together. In this picture, it's an example of combi grid where she used it to wrap a Stratavault. But in the picture, you could see under the road section some of the old fabric, and Melissa was so pumped because she's like, that was probably like an old Amico fabric from decades ago. And that's just so cool to see the separation layer and how that works. And it connects to this mechanically stabilized earth. When people first learn about how geogrid or geotextiles work, they see those images. A lot of labs have done it. A lot of universities have done it. A lot of manufacturers have done it, where they have a little box frame, and they'll put the soil and the fabric and the soil and the fabric, and they'll stack them. And then they remove the frame and the guy stands on it. Well, I saw one last night where they had a car parked on it. And I've seen a lot of these cool examples, and it's only 1 foot by 1 foot, but it's these independent layers of mechanically stabilized earth that are stabilized with either a high strength geosynthetic or geogrid. And that's really the same concept that's happening here. On this particular picture, you have geogrid every third bag, third row. Some people do it every second row. And then on the very bottom of the Flex MSE, they wrap at least 2, maybe 2 or 3 layers with the geogrid, and it ties back in. So it's that reinforced earth.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of things working together, which you talked about, even on this project that had the wrap face wall, and this one under the highway. There's a number of different solutions that work together. And that's what we're all about. In fact, if this bottom right image that Presto GeoWeb shares, they aren't telling you that you have to use just one or the other of a gravity stacked wall or the reinforced wall or a steepened slope. You can put them all together in one project, and we have a number of examples like that. So down here they call it a multi-layered channel system. We actually have hybrid systems that have a Propex scour lock system at the very bottom of the wall or the slope, maybe 2 rows of that. And then they can go up with an Armor Max. They can put a number of different things on top of that. And we're blessed because we can represent a lot of different competing manufacturers that can all work on the same project. And there's nothing better than to go out to a project and see 10 or 12 or 15 different solutions that we provided with, from BMPs, erosion control, sediment control, stormwater solutions, the structural solutions, reinforced slopes. We didn't even get into all the different anchors that we carry. There's so many cool things that we can do that goes back to solving problems. That's how Melissa opened our webinar a month ago. What's your problem? What are your challenges? What can we help you with?
Yeah, our solutions aren't one size fits all. There's an endless set of ideas and products and value that can be brought to any project. Small, large, residential homeowner, large commercial development. It's the ability to, all the people we're fortunate enough to work with around here across the United States have a vision. They have a toolbox that is very deep to find the answers and the solutions that we need.
And you said that's how some of the projects come to you, is whether it be an owner or a contractor that tried something that either they didn't like and they want something instead, and they'll come to you and ask for suggestions, or they've tried maybe multiple things and they found one they really like, and they like to partner with you because of your experience with us. And then you can just continue to grow it. So their success begets our success. So everybody wins, right? And I know I don't like to say the win-win thing, but with your kind of experience, that's why I wanted you to be the guest presenter today, is you can show people, even on a really challenging site, there's some opportunities to have some great success. So I've got a couple questions here. Can you help me answer? He asked, Leon Brown asked about the forested areas. What conversation have you had with some of the owners or some of the agencies about the risk of fire or the impact of fire to their products? So yeah, I want to talk about the concern with fires, because you mentioned wildfires in one area and you're still in forested areas. We have this in some of our other markets. What concerns or what conversations have you had about that?
There were multiple conversations about the risk for fire, and from the contractors to the owners to everyone was talking about how any of the systems were going to react to it. And I know that's I'm not going to go too deep into it. I don't have the technical answer on those right now, but I don't know if the conversations were had. I don't have an answer for it.
Well, I can chime in on that a little bit. So I've had some conversations with some of the military bases on some of the training they do, some of their live fire and some of their fire tracing rounds. But some of the products we have are fire retardant. So there's different UL ratings on that. So if you were to put a fire source on it and then pull it off, does it continue to burn on its own? Does it ignite? And I know that with Flex MSE, like Joel even answered, it's fire retardant. It won't flame. There have been other erosion control products where we have had to provide a different version. So I'll talk about Fleximat, for example, on some of the slopes. Fleximat has a yellow geogrid product, and that is their flame resistant fire resistant product. And in fact, FR is in the nomenclature. So that's a conversation we can have about all of these products. And we do have workarounds for them as well. And some of the projects are in forested areas. Okay, nope, we already got that one. Standard details for designing and integrating railings along the top of the walls. Absolutely. Travis, you even have some of the pictures you show, and I'll get to it here, show some walls, safety railings on, like, I think it was the big Broadmoor project. There you go. Do you, any of your projects have the permanent walls and railings in it? I know that Flex MSE has details that they address that. Presto Geo does as well, and the Solmax companies as well. So how do you address that? This one here, you can just describe the fall protection, but then any permanent walls or permanent railings, how do you address those?
There will be standard details for how they're going to do the permanent fall protection, and then the bollards to keep vehicles from driving off of this at some point. These temporary fall protection, was very creative on how they got this done. They were still tying people off as well, so this is a secondary safety measure.
Yeah.
They were able to link the rebar, tie these on at every interval and elevate them on every second basket, and it worked out really well. And this was a reused product. Those fall protection was they reused it from a demo project they did. So
they could just pull those out when they're going up to the next level, build on top of it, and continue.
That's great.
That's excellent, because some of these walls are ridiculously high, which I would be concerned about with some of them if they're going to be in inhabited areas. But we have to agree that there are some naturally occurring cliffs and steep slopes in nature that don't have railings on them. So at some point, if you get away from these civilized projects that are right in the middle of a city and you go out to those that are in the mountains, there has to be some risk associated just from being out there just to get to the site, even, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're not going to mitigate all of it, but there are permanent railings and there are details to put permanent railings above all of these walls, every single one of them. I was going to see, because some of these, and I know on their website, some of the manufacturers specifically show the details. I don't think we included any details for any permanent railings. So
They definitely are available.
Yeah, they are. And I went back to Mosquito Creek in part because it's so beautiful. But one of the things I noticed when you were talking about access was this mini excavator coming right down to the site, and that top left or top right or top center picture shows when you're very first starting this wall and they're compacting it in lifts. One of the things you and I talked about was how fast this system gets installed. It's a very short learning curve for anybody who's new to the system on how to assemble it. I can tell you when I built mine, I went very fast after I first started. I was being really careful and hand tamping each bag, trying to keep it level. And when I talked to our friends at Trexiana about it, they're like, dude, you just got to speed up and go. It'll all work itself out. You don't have to string line every bag. In fact, the string on here is kind of a joke, right? You have a string line that you start with, but you didn't even have to use it as you worked your way up, did you?
That's correct. The only thing we used was maintaining the vertical batter on the face of the wall, but otherwise, I mean, the crew really got down the drop and flop method of getting these bags in place and maintaining the running bond and keeping all the small details of seams in and plates correct way, and extending the geogrid out just a little bit further to offer a visual confirmation of geogrid embedment length on each layer. And
I love that. I love that. So somebody could just walk up to the wall and see where the geogrid's sticking out to make sure that it's meeting spec.
Now, I wish I could have recorded a couple of the people out there that kind of had to go back on their words after the first couple of days, and they said, "Oh, this is too much labor," and then a couple days later, like, "This is way easier." I'm like,
exactly.
"Oh yeah."
Exactly. Well, I know that as we talked about the GRS, IBS, even up at the very top at the beginning there, that there's a lot of old school people that are against new technology. And I know that when those first started getting used years ago for bridge abutments, there was a lot of resistance to it. And where I'm at in the Midwest, there's a limestone rock quarry in every county. So it's really easy to get concrete products here. It's really easy to get rock. But the more our industry evolves, we use rock. And in fact, our parent company is huge in the mining industry, very important for road design and infrastructure design in general. But for a lot of what we do on erosion control, sediment control, and stormwater, there are a lot better options than just rock. Now, granted, nothing beats a beautiful granite boulder wall that's naturally occurring. But if you go to some of these websites, in fact, Flex MSE has it, they work in harmony with those boulders like you had in some of your earlier pictures that are just absolutely incredible. I'm going to skip past your video here. Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to get to the ending, but we have some time. The summary I wanted to say is what Melissa started with last month was, what problem are you trying to solve? And Travis, that's where if they involve you early, you can really be a lot of help. You can come in late and just try to do exactly what they need, but if you can be part of the discussion, you get the opportunity to offer solutions, correct?
That's correct. The earlier the better.
Yeah, earlier the better. And I say early and often. So one of the things I noticed with you is how willing you are, and apparently the contractor, to evolve as the project's happening. If you figure out some better ways to access the site or a different way to do it that's more efficient, that's the lessons learned that we try to capture. And I think I'm going to have you try to talk at our sales meeting in February to share with some of our other sales team. We do a lot of in-house information sharing, but we'd also like to do that outside with everybody else we do business with. So you've got some, obviously a huge project, some huge projects with some of these MSE walls, but you're still willing to do the smaller residential ones as well, correct?
Definitely.
So
They're all just as exciting. I mean, I've installed, I've shown friends, some of my buddies, these products, and they've installed these walls at their own houses where it's just a couple guys and a weekend, and we'll do a couple thousand square foot of walls around their houses.
And a couple gals, our friend Melissa Hurley did this at her house with her husband and kid out in front of her home. I didn't get her permission to share that picture. I was going to include that as well. So hers is way more impressive than mine on the little rectangular frame. She made hers look really natural, and it's just beautiful. And if this is good enough for people in the Pacific Northwest aesthetically and environmentally, then this is good enough for everybody everywhere. Now, unvegetated versus vegetated, the first reaction I always have to everything is vegetate as often and everywhere you can. But we do have unvegetated projects, and not everything's black. We've got products in green, we get them in tan. We can handle unvegetated projects as well. And they don't have to know everything about it. Just they got to know who to call, and that's us. So join us next month. Our next Technical Talks webinar will be stormwater management. We'll talk about pre-treatment biofiltration. Thank you for those that asked to be added to the mailing list. And cleaning green. Pick up your phone and scan that QR code. And if you haven't done it, Travis, you can try it right now and see if it works. If you got your phone on you, try to pick it up and point it at the screen and see if that works. Travis, I thank you so much for joining us today, man. You're awesome.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
Anything you want to add here as you're trying to take the picture of that?
No, just call your local rep and see what creative ideas you can come up with.